thank you for joining me today. Today we are going to make no-knead bread. In a large mixing bowl, I have 2.5 cups of white, unbleached King Arthur bread flour and a 1/2 cup of King Arthur traditional all-wheat flour. So in a large bowl, we are going to get this incorporated evenly. Get that all mixed up there. Okay. Okay. It's mixed up nicely. Then we're going to make a little depression in it like that. We are going to add our salt. We're going to add, I like to do a teaspoon and 1/4. There you are. Teaspoon and 1/4 of kosher salt. Then we're going to get our yeast and 1/4 heaping teaspoon of yeast. There we go, that goes in there. Alright. Then we add 1.5 cups of tepid water. Not hot, not cold. Tepid water. And we're going to add that in there. Alright. And we want to give that a mix and get this all incorporated. Okay. It's going to seem like it's too dry and then too wet. Just keep mixing it. And keep it going. Starting to come together nicely. Alright, there we go. Almost. Okay. Alright. That's nice. I don't know if you can see here, but that's what we've got. Okay, now we are going to cover this tightly with plastic wrap. We're going to put it up into somewhere up high, preferably in a cabinet in the dark where you can leave it alone for 12 to 18 hours. During that time, it's going to bubble up and just do its magic, and it's going to be ready to go for us to manipulate it just a little bit, and then we're going to bake it in a very hot oven at 465 degrees in a Dutch oven. And it's just a wonderful way to do bread. I think you're going to be pleased. So here we go. We're going to cover it up and put it to sleep, and we'll be back in about 12 hours. Alright everyone, we are back. It is the following morning. Our no-knead bread has been bubbling nicely. We covered it tight with saran wrap, put it up high in a cabinet. It's been about 14 hours now, but you can go just 12 hours, that's fine. And it looks like this. It's kind of a bubbly stuff like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out of the bowl, and we are going to put it on the board like so. Pulling, it's really sticky, gluteny, very gluteny. And we are going to pull this out. We're going to put it on our board. Okay. Then we're going to pat it down just a little bit. It's going to want to stick, but just roll it over a couple of times, maybe up on its end, and then get some flour on that dough, and we have something that looks somewhat like this. Alright, I like to punch mine down to get the air bubbles even in the dough, and this is how I do it to get a consistent loaf every time. It's kind of how you manipulate the dough at this point, depending on how you get. Now right here we have our bowl with a cotton towel, and we have cornmeal down. That's going to help it. So what we do, this is the trick. We are going We're patting this down kind of into a round shape. We're going to fold it over once. Okay, see what we got here. Fold it over once. You see that seam? This seam is really important. So we're going to pat some air bubbles out of it, like so. Now we're going to fold it over one more time, right? And we're going to get something that looks kind of like a oblong, a weird triangle, or a big fat D, or something like that. But this is the key. What we're going to do is see this seam? It goes all the way around. It's kind of like a clam. And this part down here, there is no seam. This will be the bottom of our bread. This will be the top of our bread. But we put it in this bowl upside down for its second rise of 2 hours. This is what we do. I take my left hand, since I'm right-handed. I'm going to grab this seam with my fingers. And all the way around, I am going to pull this seam. Okay, keep tight hold of it. We're going to pull it all together up top. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's all my seams. There's that folded portion. I'm going to let gravity do its thing. Kind of tap it a little bit. You see I'm squeezing up here. Continue to squeeze, pat it. We're going to let gravity work on it. Now what we do here is we're going to take all these seams and we are going to twist it, right, and make a little tail. So we're twisting, okay. Now that little twist is going to go down in the bowl. So we have our twist nicely, tuck it under. There's our dough. It's going to go straight into that bowl with the little twisty side down. When we put this in the oven to bake, we're going to pull out the towel and support it, and we are going to flip this dough over so this portion up top will be on the bottom, and then that little thing that we just made down there will kind of blossom open. And once we get this done, of course we're going to bake this in a Dutch oven at 465 degrees for 30 minutes covered. Then at the 30-minute mark, you're going to want to uncover it, bake it for an additional 15 minutes. Now, what I didn't say before, we want to sprinkle cornmeal on top right there, because this bread will stick. It's very moist, a lot of moisture content. So we're going to sprinkle a little yellow cornmeal, any kind you like. I like the coarser kind. This is actually a little bit finer than I like, but I was out of the normal brand that I use. So we're just going to do that. As you can see here, I like King Arthur unbleached bread flour. The dough I used was a combination of 2½ cups of white King Arthur bread flour and ½ cup of traditional whole wheat King Arthur bread flour. It does a great job. And I'm going to go ahead and put this up for its second rise. 2 hours. You cover it up like this. Alright. Put it back in the same spot that you had it in when it did its rise overnight. And we will bake this, and I'll show you the finished product. Certainly do appreciate it, and happy baking. Hello and welcome back. We've removed our bread from the oven. It has been 45 minutes, and as you can see, it's a beautiful loaf of bread. Those twists that we made in it earlier create these cracks and crevices, and it's just a wonderful way to bake bread. Easy, consistent. Let's see if we can get a view of the top here, and just a really looking medieval loaf of bread. And it's just very, very delicious. There's no reason in the world why anyone watching this video cannot do it. And I mean, next time you go to the grocery store to buy bread, just look at the ingredient list on the back. It's just amazing. This bread right here is wholesome. It's flour, water, salt, and yeast, and that's it. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful, wholesome bread. So I encourage you to give it a try. I guarantee you, once you start doing this, you will not buy bread again from your local grocery store. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and give it a shot.